You are listening to Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, aspiring actors with me. I'm Louise, the founder of Standby Method Acting Studio, and every week I'll be talking with you and sharing how you can become a paid, working, unstoppable actor. Because you can. An acting career is doable. Are you ready? Today we are speaking to an absolutely amazing headshot photographer, and I am so excited for you to hear her pearls of wisdom and all of her little nuggets that she's going to pass on to you. She's a headshot photographer who has taken the pictures of actors and actresses who have appeared on amazing shows such as Coronation Street. They've appeared at the Donmar Warehouse. They've been on Shameless. They're represented by amazing agencies such as Alex Priestley, Red Door Management, Rare Talent, Pemberton Associates, and I've even had the pleasure of being photographed by her. So, ladies and gentlemen, Kate McDonald.
Well, thank you very much for that lovely introduction. It was very kind of you.
It's all true, though. I was stalking your Instagram, looking through all the amazing pictures that you've taken of all these brilliant actors and actresses. So what I wanted to start with then is if you could just sort of introduce yourself and how you became a headshot photographer, just so our listeners know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was living in Manchester. I've moved my studio now to Liverpool, but I was living in Manchester at the time. I was temping because I'm an actor too. I trained as an actor and I was just temping in between acting jobs, and it got to the point where I just wanted to do something else that was creative when I wasn't acting, because as we all know, kind of our day jobs take up more time often than our acting jobs. So I needed to find something creative. And my parents were big into photography. There was always cameras lying around. So I just started kind of playing around with cameras. My husband's an actor as well. So I started practicing on him. Lots of like different sort of locations and all sorts of things. And I finally kind of found a spot that worked, because that was before I had my studio. And then I just started practicing, started getting people in kind of for free and asking them if they'd sort of, sit in for me. And it just built from there. It got to the point where I needed to go part-time with my other work, and then full-time. And then it got to the point where I needed a studio. And then that sort of coincided with me moving back home, because I'm from near Liverpool. And that was it, really. It just kind of built up kind of naturally and like kind of steady. But it all came from being starved of creativity.
I totally hear you on that one. When I first started Standby, I was like, I just can't do another boring day job between acting work.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. And I kind of like often have heart-to-hearts with actors that come in, and I just say, like, your day job, it can't break your heart. Like, you've got to try and find that other thing that you can still be passionate about. And I think it shows when you're going for your auditions, if you're in a really good positive headspace, because you're creating a good life for yourself away from the rejection and the sort of, because the rejection really hard,
massive, isn't it? Like, there's just so much of it.
Yeah, and it's just building up that resilience, but it's really hard to build up that resilience if you're then going into a job where you're not sort of valued and you really don't enjoy it. So it's so important to find that other creative avenue, I think. And it can be anything. I mean, I've met so many clients that have done, some of them are like makeup artists, some of them are writers, some of them are hairdressers. It's sort of any freelance industry where you can fit it in and around your acting. That's like a bonus. You've hit the jackpot then.
Absolutely. And so a lot of our listeners then, they're aspiring actors, they've not been to drama school, they can't go down that route for whatever reason, and they're brand new to the industry. So can you just kind of sum up what a headshot is, what the purpose of it is, why an actor would even need one?
Of course, yeah. So a headshot is basically, sounds awful, like a shot of your head, but it's generally sort of from shoulders, head to shoulders, cropped in sort of 10:8. Nowadays it's getting a bit looser, where you can kind of shoot a little bit wider, a little bit longer. It's a bit more sort of American style, but generally speaking, it's a 10:8 professional image of your head.
Why do aspiring actors and actors need this then? Like, where does it sort of fit into the bigger picture of everything?
Yeah, so the first port of call, whether you are represented or whether you are self-representing, you would want to submit your CV and headshot. So it's so casting directors can see what you look like if you fit the brief. And often through Spotlight, it's just going to be a very small sort of thumbnail image that they're going to see first before they even click on it to make it big. So that's something I think a lot of people don't know, is that how crucial it is to have a good headshot that stands out, because often casting directors are looking at a very small little thumbnail.
And do you sort of think that you've got to have like a really striking image? Do you think it has to be like more, like it really has to look like you? Or do you think aspiring actors and actors have to get like a variety of different looks that could look like different characters then? So if it's going on Spotlight and they're seeing this little thumbnail, what do you sort of suggest to people when they come into your studio?
For me, it's about most importantly, it's about having an image that's really clear, that clarity. I mean, it depends on what sort of style really that you like, but I shoot quite sort of light, bright images, partly for taste reasons, like that's kind of how I like to shoot, but also bearing in mind that that is kind of like going to help you stand out a little bit more, I guess, when you're kind of a tiny, tiny thumbnail. I don't necessarily think, I think you have to look like you. This is this age-old thing, and sometimes it baffles me when people come in and they'll show me like an old headshot and they say, "Oh, it doesn't look like me." And I'm like, "Well, it kind of does, because that is you." But I know what you're saying in that you might have looked uncomfortable. You might have been trying something a bit different that with your hair that maybe you wouldn't normally do. Maybe you're a bit nervous and things like that. I think in terms of character, I wouldn't go too out there. For me, it's about finding subtle nuances within your casting. So, for instance, I'm just an example of someone I photographed today. She had quite a young look. She was in her early 20s, but she could definitely play like sort of school age. She could play a teenager. So we played around with kind of how she could look a bit younger, possibly when you tie your hair back, like the type of clothes you wear, the necklines, and then sort of wearing the hair down and with a different top can really just completely change a look, along with sort of a different backdrop, different sort of lighting setup and stuff. So it's a bit of creativity on both of our parts to try and figure out what that is, but it's not necessarily to come in as like a specific character, but to sort of play around with what you have, what you give off for free.
And I think that's really interesting that you just brought up the clothes, because I remember when I first left drama school and I was having my first set of headshots, I literally had no idea about what to wear. I think I just took in like a white v-neck top, a black v-neck top, and then a black scoop neck and a white scoop neck. And like looking back, those headshots are really not that great, because I felt and I looked actually so limited in just black and white. What sort of clothing would you suggest that people bring in when they're coming in for a headshot session?
Yeah, I think it's funny actually. I think there's been a bit of a revolt against black now, which is a shame because I love black. I think everyone should bring a black option because it just suits every skin tone. But people are kind of going the other way now. They're kind of going like really kind of colourful. I think it doesn't really matter what colour it is as long as there's no crazy patterns on it, because that's kind of distracting. Then it becomes more about your modelling the clothes than us looking at your face. But generally, I kind of advise people to just think about, it's different for sort of men than it is for women. I think for girls we've got a little bit more kind of variety and choice. Like we can go really delicate and feminine, we can also go really edgy, but I always advise people to bring in sort of see, now I'm asking people to be really specific because of COVID and the guidelines and having to kind of be really efficient in the studio, whereas sometimes I'd say like just bring in more stuff and we'll go through it. But generally speaking, yes, do bring a white and a black top, but don't be scared of colour. Colour's good. And if there's a colour that really suits you, and you feel good in it, then bring it in. The only thing I say is like not neon. Bright sort of neon is probably a no-go. Because again, it's kind of like more about the clothes than it is about you. It's finding clothes that sort of complement you. So that they're there to sort of, what's the word? They're there to sort of complement you and not overbear you.
I think that's really interesting what you just said about like feeling good in the clothes, because I can imagine like you being on the other side, you can pick up on when someone doesn't feel comfortable in something that they're wearing and when they do. And
definitely, yeah.
Do you think that makes a big difference in the images?
Definitely. I think you can tell when someone's brought something because they felt like they should, or they've seen other headshots and they've gone, well, they've worn that, so maybe I should wear that. It's just more, it's so important. It's good to get inspiration. I always say to people, it's really good to get inspiration, particularly if you're a bit unsure, particularly when you're starting out of what your casting is. I think that's really difficult. I mean, when I left drama school, I didn't have a clue how the world saw me. I think that's really difficult. So I think it's really good to do your research and to kind of have a look around at other actors that you think are possibly similar to you, or that you like their work and you kind of want to go down that route just to get a bit of inspiration. But at the end of the day, if you try it on and it feels uncomfortable or looks funny, don't bring it, because you're just going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And also the casting type thing. When I first came out of drama school, because it's such a subjective question, what's your casting type? Because the way you see yourself and the way other people see yourself is really, really different.
Yeah.
I just found that I would ask people who have nothing to do with the acting world, like, what do I look like? And they'd be a bit like, what do you mean? What do you look like? I'd be like, well, what like, do I look like a nurse? Do I look like a businesswoman? What do I look like? So do you think that might be a good place for people who are new to getting the headshots being taken to start putting feelers out about what the casting type is, so they come in with a bit more of an idea of what they want from the session?
Definitely. I would say an important big thing for me is that people come, it's okay to be nervous and it's okay to not be 100% sure, but it's not okay to have not prepared at all, so ask someone like, obviously Louise, ask you, Louise, like if they need to ask you, or just someone that they trust, someone that does have some industry experience, to ask them, but also just kind of trying to be honest with yourself as well. This comes back to it. I mean, it's quite a difficult job at times, because basically you're taking pictures of people in varying degrees of confidence. Some people are really confident, some people are really underconfident, but a kind of through line to that is just, it's that kind of awareness of self is really important. Without the sort of insecurity that goes with it, it's really hard. Like, I'm terrible. Like, I'm absolutely shocking in front of the camera in terms of sitting for still. So I totally empathize with people. But I just think, yeah, it's so important to have an idea, even if it changes a little bit on the day. It's important to come in with a bit of an idea of what your casting is, and whatever means, whether that be doing loads of research yourself, or really holding that mirror up to yourself and trying to see what other actors you're similar to in terms of sort of acting style or physically. It's about being honest with yourself as well. We all want to look our best. We all want to look beautiful. And I do believe, I know it sounds really cheesy, but I do believe everyone does have their own beauty. It might not be in the sort of conventional sense, but everybody does have a beauty and an inner light. But it's about being honest with yourself of where you sit within the industry, because if you're kind of coming in with those expectations that you're going to look a certain way, and then you get your pictures back and like, oh, I don't look like that, that's when it can be really confusing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you talking there about this inner beauty, like sometimes that can be really difficult to find if you're lacking in confidence, because it's so easy to compare yourself to everybody else. Like, I remember when I came out of drama school and everybody was so excited about getting their headshots taken, because it's, first headshots, and, you're getting thrown out into the industry. And I remember like going to my first headshot session, and at the time I didn't have straight teeth. And so I was really self-conscious about that. And so I wouldn't smile in any of the pictures. And then the headshot photographer said, let's get some pictures of you smiling. And so I smiled with a bit of trepidation. And his sort of response, which I picked up on because obviously I was so self-conscious about my teeth, was like a ooh. And then after that, I just felt so tense inside. So then obviously when it came to me having to choose the pictures, I just hated every single one of them. So have you got any tips for people, who are listening, to kind of work on that inner confidence so they can find that inner self-beauty?
Yeah, I mean, I think one bad experience can really send you on a bit of a downward spiral. I mean, from separately from sitting on the other side of the camera when when I was first starting out as an actor. I remember having a really bad experience, really similar to what you had with a photographer, and they were quite a well-known photographer as well, but I would never name names. But I remember them making me feel really bad about myself, and it really stuck with me, and it was there. I was carrying it with me everywhere I went. It's a really difficult one, Louise. It's really hard. Like, I wish I could give people, because it's when people come in and they're quite underconfident and they can't see what I see, and I wish I could give them that confidence. I think it's about going back to that sort of, you got to be kind to yourself, but also having that realistic view of yourself and looking at other people that are really talented, that you sort of admire their confidence. So, for example, I really love Olivia Colman. I think she's like such a phenomenal actress. She's like funny. She can do drama. Is she conventionally beautiful? Possibly not. I don't know. Some people might think she is. I think she's very quirky. I think she's very beautiful in a quirky way. And I think there's a lot of power in that. So I think it's often like looking to those people that you really admire that have such a talent, rather than looking at, say, comparing yourself to people that are just kind of, models or people that are very, very sort of conventionally beautiful. And I suppose for guys as well, I guess it's a similar thing. I think it's like you've kind of got to remember that as an actor, you are going to be playing lots of different parts. Sometimes you're not going to be looking your best, actually. Depends what the part is. But in terms of physically, the way you look and things like that, what I would say is before a headshot session, make sure you're feeling your best. Like, beyond like any other issues you have, just try and make sure you're eating well, you're sleeping, you're not doing anything drastic with your hair. Make sure that you're feeling your best self. Otherwise, just don't book in, just wait, give it another month. Because there's nothing worse than coming along and thinking, oh, do you know what? I wish I'd just, eaten a bit better, drank a bit more water, taken care of my skin a bit more. There's nothing worse than kind of thinking, oh God, I've just spent all this money and now I'm probably going to have to come back again because I'm not happy. You can kind of see it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, one little tip that I'd like to give, if you don't mind, is that when I got my first set of headshots done, oh my God, I was so ridiculous. I went to this really expensive 5-star hair salon in Manchester and spent like nearly £200 on my hair, which like I wouldn't normally spend that amount of money on my hair, and I would never normally have it in the style that I had it for these pictures. So I think, as well as like you were saying, like looking after your skin, drinking well, eating well, getting enough sleep, which are just important for life anyway, never mind having your headshots taken. Like, I don't think you have to do anything really big or drastic, like you were saying earlier, or anything super special. I think you just have to go in as like you, because that's your job, isn't it? You're trying to capture the essence of each person that comes in.
Yes, and exactly. And I think it's that comparing. I think particularly early on in your career, it's really easy to do that, but no one is going to do the job like you. Somebody, I think it's my husband, always says, like, if it's them, it can be me. There's no reason why it can't be you. So everything you do, just do it with that conviction that actually I'm worthy of being here. I've got just as much right to be here than anybody else. And why not me?
I really love that. I'm going to take that away from this. I think that's just such an amazing thing to carry around with you. So I guess, there's probably some other things that actors should be considering before the headshot session as well then. Do you think they should be practicing any sort of like poses or anything, or do you think that's too contrived?
I don't think it's contrived. I think everybody works differently. Different photographers have a different way of working. So for me, I tend to give you a lot of direction in terms of posing, because that's the one thing I always found uncomfortable, was like, oh, what do I do? How do I sit? So in terms of practicing, unless you like really enjoy it, I wouldn't necessarily like spend too much time sort of practicing poses, because I will probably end up going, can you do it like this? Because I can see what I need, and in terms of like how my studio is set up and where you're going to be sat or stood or whatever. I think it's good. Definitely check your clothing and have a look and see what it looks like. Try different hairstyles. For guys, have a think about whether you're shaving or not shaving. That's another one. if, think about how many images you want with a beard, whether you have a beard all the time or whether you have mostly a clean shaven look. Think about kind of the ratio of images you want. Because obviously I'm meeting you for the first time. So if you come in with like a huge beard, but you've really clean shaven most of the time, I don't know that. I'll be like, oh, great, let's just film this big hairy guy with a beard. But, and then you end up with like 5 head, like majority of the headshots. So you've got a beard and you're like, actually, I never have this beard. So yeah, just things like that. Other things I think to consider way before that is what headshot photography you want. Like, have a look. There's loads of us. Like, have a look at style. Have a look at an important thing for me, which is kind of a little bugbear, is look at what I do, and that's what you're going to get. Sometimes, very very rare occasions, you'll kind of get people showing you images that are just so out there, and you're like, well, kind of on like 2 minutes notice, I can't really do that for you because I don't have that
out there image.
Well, not even, just kind of like, can you shoot me in front of this particular landscape, like, or cityscape? And it's like, well, I can't because I don't have that cityscape like, to hand. So it's just things like that. It's just kind of just being quite conscious of who you are choosing as your headshot photographer. Look at their work, and that's what, hopefully, that's what you're going to get. If you go to a headshot photographer that's posting pictures of a particular way of how they shoot, you would hope that you would get that result as well. So just bear that in mind when you're choosing a headshot photographer. And that sounds really obvious, but it's just something I've noticed over the years. Like, just make sure that you are having a look at their work so that you can manage your expectations.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point because, well, especially when you're getting your first set of headshots, like, well, I can only speak from my experience, but I was so excited that I just went with who everyone else went with just because that was the thing to do. I don't know, like, was it like that for you when you came out of drama school?
Yeah, it was a bit, but also I felt it on the other side. Like, I almost get a bit worried when I'm a bit too popular because I'm like, all these people coming from the same place. And I think they can all get fed up of seeing my stuff. So I think it's really important to just do your research and just make that choice based on your taste. If you think that they're a good photographer, obviously have a look at their actors, see what the actors are doing that they photographed, see whether they're working. It's not always a massive indicator, particularly in the north. It's quite hard, but yeah, have a look and see what the actors are doing that are on their website, and see who their agents are. That's another good one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely do send a lot of people your way, but that's because...
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's because, like, I've had a few different headshot photographers, and I've always come away just knowing that something was missing. Now, I know a huge part of that was me, like, not really liking the way that I look on pictures, which we've kind of covered earlier, but also as well, it didn't feel like a collaboration. Whereas, like, you were saying that you direct actors, and I think that's so important, and it is a collaboration. But the other thing that I really love about you as well is that, because I'm massively nervous when I go in for headshots being taken, and you take the time to sit and talk, and, like, you really helped me settle down. And I think that's really important. I mean, how much of a big part do you think that plays in the session?
I personally do. I mean, I've heard other headshot photographers say that they prefer to sort of just hit the ground running, get shooting. I totally respect that, because there's a definitely a merit to that you just want to get shooting, start kind of getting the actor used to being in front of the camera. I always say as well in my shoots as well, I'm like, listen, first sort of 5-10 minutes or so, it's going to be a little bit of a write-off because you're getting relaxed. I'm figuring out what to do with you, and but yeah, I personally like the chit chat at the beginning. Unfortunately, because of the way I'm running shoots now, I'm not spending as much time as I normally would, kind of getting to know people. But I still sit and we still have the chat. It's just nice to know where people are at, whether they're beginners, whether they've been going a while, why they need their headshots doing, why possibly maybe they want to try something different if the last ones weren't working for whatever reason. So yeah, no, I do think it's important. I like to do that. I just think it's like, how can you walk in somewhere with a stranger who's going to then stick a camera in your face? Like, I think it's really important. I think it's bizarre. It's just a bizarre setup anyway. I'm this stranger taking pictures of you, of your face, hundreds and hundreds of pictures of your face. I think
Yeah, it is a little bit unnatural, isn't it?
yeah. So I'm quite aware of how intimidating that can be. So hopefully that's my main thing, is to disarm as soon as you arrive. Yeah.
And can you run people through what like a typical headshot session with yourself consists of then? Like what sort of happens from beginning to end?
Yeah, sure. So when you arrive and actually find the place, because it's quite hard to find, because it's just like a black unmarked door. I give really, really specific instructions on when you book in. You get like a map and everything, but it's really central. It's in the city centre. But once you actually find it and call me and you're like, I'm lost. Once you get in, we tend to, well, now it's quite rigid. So you go over to your little area because it's all COVID secure. You go to your separate little area, your changing area, and I just tell you to sort of dump your bags there and hang your clothes up on the rail, and then just join me 2 meters distance. I'm still keeping 2 meters distance. And then we will sit and talk, and we'll do the talk. We'll just have a little chit chat, just general stuff. Then I'll sort of get up, have a look at your clothes. So hopefully you'll have them all hung up for me. And I'm a little bit particular. I kind of like to get them in an order. So I like to kind of talk about, particularly for, I mean, guys or girls that have got long hair, we tend to shoot the hair down first and then work our way up to hair up. So you're not faffing on changing your hair too much throughout. And just kind of be quite specific about what looks we're going for, just so it's clear in your head what we're doing. So, you know, for girls, maybe a more delicate top with the hair in a low pony would be more of a period drama look, if that's what we're going for. Some people are just like, look, I'm never going to get cast in period drama, so don't bother. And that's absolutely fine too. Guys, it would be like, okay, is this a smarter look? Is this a more casual look? Is this a more urban, gritty look? And we just talk through all your looks, basically. Then we just kind of sit down and get started. So I tend to, as I say, the first sort of 5-10 minutes is a bit of a write-off for both of us. Sometimes we can hit lucky and we get straight into it, but a little bit of stop-start at the beginning. But then after that, you tend to kind of just see people relax and get into the flow of it. I'll be directing you in terms of your posture. Posture's a big thing. Posture. I've got terrible posture, but often I'm just nagging you out throughout the whole shoot, saying shoulders back. So, slight lean forward with your shoulders back, and then you look at me like, what? I'm asking you to do 2 different things at the same time. But generally speaking, I'll be guiding you a little bit. If it's getting a bit samey in your face, I'll be kind of going, okay, like let's try something a bit warmer. I'll be kind of keeping an eye on that as well, because it's that kind of startled bunny look that we don't want. And I know that comes with nerves. So and then we'll just work through each look, basically, each kind of different top choice and hair choice. And if we need a break, we have a break. Sometimes it's good to have a little break for a bit, because it can get quite intense. And then at the end, I tend to sort of ask you if you're happy, and review some of the images and just see how you're feeling about it. And then if we're ready to finish, we'll finish. And I sit and explain how you get your gallery. And that's all online now. It's all on an automated system called Photo Workflow, which was created by a very talented photographer called Adam Hills down in London. He's a headshot photographer, but he's also a clever clogs, and he's created this amazing photo workflow system. So everything's all in the one place. So when you book, you're all set.
Yeah, I've seen my students like bringing that to me going, here's my password, Louise, can you have a little look through it? I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. And then all your images, when they get retouched, they all go up on there as well. So it's all in the one place, so you can't lose them. So I think when we worked together, I think I was still sending WeTransfers, and it was like, yeah, it expires within 7 days. And then you get people going, it's expired, can you send them again? I'd be digging through my hard drives. So this is a lot more user friendly and good for me too.
And what would you say is like a typically bad headshot session then? I mean, I'm sure you've probably had some.
Yeah, I think a bad headshot session, I think it's to do with that preparedness. I think As I say, nerves are fine. Everybody gets nervous, but I think it's just when someone comes with a complete lack of any thought, it's kind of like, well, you do it, like you do it all for me. And I think that kind of shows their work ethic as an actor. I think
Yeah.
if someone comes and they're kind of like, well, you just kind of tell me everything to do, it's kind of tough because I'm like, well, I've just met you and you can kind of guide that person. But I think that's really hard. I think that's kind of doesn't get us off to a good start. Similar sort of being almost, bringing your entire wardrobe is kind of a bit of a bad start, because again, that shows a lack of preparedness.
I can also imagine it's like, where do you even start with that when someone's brought like their entire wardrobe?
I know, I must admit my heart sinks when I see a massive luggage case. I'm like, are you going somewhere? I'm like, please tell me you're going somewhere. And sometimes that does happen and you get a whole sort of wardrobe fashion show. And it's fine, at the end of the day, but it just kind of says to me that there's no kind of thought, there's not much thought. No one's, kind of haven't sat down and everything's creased and you're like, oh gosh, like, so I would say, bad. I mean, how bad do we want to go, Louise? Like,
let's go as bad as you can offer.
As bad as I can go. Oh God, rudeness. Yeah, I mean, not very often. I mean, you're talking 1%, just kind of rudeness. I think it's actually another thing, but it all comes from insecurity, is someone who tries to control the session. That's really hard for me.
Right.
Because if someone tries to control the session, I can't do my job. So then I'm kind of stifled and limited. And often it doesn't result in us getting the best pictures because, yeah, we're both kind of limiting each other then. We're not collaborating, which is the perfect word, which you mentioned earlier on. It's definitely, for me, on a positive note, it's a collaboration. That's another thing I want to say to people. Like, at the same time as me saying come prepared, I'm also prepared. Like, I brought my camera, I've provided the studio, I've got the lenses, I'm prepared. And it's a two-way street. So it's not just kind of all on you,
And how many outfits would you say an actor should be bringing to a session?
For me personally, it depends on the package. Every headshot photographer is different. Some headshot photographers have different packages, but for me personally, I just say like 4 or 5. Maybe a few more if you're doing the portfolio package and we're doing something a bit different. For example, some people might do sort of stand-up comedy and they want to do some mid-length shots that are just a bit more casual, and they might wear something, and then it kind of doesn't matter if there's branding on the top and things like that, because it's less about it being a headshot and it's more about you as a personality. But yeah, I say don't bring more than sort of 8. I think beyond that, it starts to get, as I say, it's more about the clothes, and then it's trying to get through all these changes, when really what we want to be doing for a headshot package where we've got you're getting 3 retouched headshots, we want to be focusing on getting you nice and relaxed and really being specific.
It's the face that's really important as well, isn't it? Because essentially that's what casting directors are looking at. They don't really care what you're wearing.
Exactly. I mean, so people might disagree. There might be other photographers like, they really like that. They might think, yeah, they want you to bring your whole wardrobe so they can sit and kind of really get in there and like have a look around. But for me personally, I just think come prepared, bring sort of maybe 5 different looks, maybe 5 to 8 different looks, and then might even cull them. I'm really brutal. And then just, get to work.
And what would be a typically really good headshot session then? Like, have you got any stories that you can share of like really good ones where it's just flown and it's just been like a co-creation together?
Yes, ours, Louise, our headshot session.
I mean, I was ridiculously nervous.
Oh, I mean, it is that though. It's just like when somebody, it doesn't matter if they're nervous. It's just that they are committed, prepared, professional. I think for me, it's just like, it's that prepared thing again. I keep saying it, but just someone who's come with a bit of an idea of what they want. We collaborate together. Someone with I think a great headshot session is someone who comes with an open mind, and is willing to try a few different things out. Also, I know it can't always be achieved, but just try and come on time. I know like traffic and things, but if it gets to like an hour late and then you've got another client coming in after that, you're then rushing that set. You kind of then rushing the session, and that can be a little bit stressful, because you're wanting to give that client, you know, the time that they deserve, but then they've turned up an hour late, and then you're kind of trying to catch up. So good headshot session is just turn up on time if you can, and just come prepared and be open, and we'll have a laugh.
I can imagine as well that if someone's really late like that, just, I don't know, really affects the energy of it as well, because they're stressed.
Flustered. It's horrible. Yeah. It's horrible. And listen, it can't always be helped, but you can kind of tell the people that have kind of like genuinely got stuck in traffic, and then people are just a little bit lax, and they kind of turn up quite late and things like that. I mean, it's again, it's the 1%. It's not the majority, but just and just keeping me posted if you are running late. That's always good.
I think punctuality is definitely a thing throughout the industry, isn't it?
I think it is, and I just think as well, it's just that treating a headshot session, almost treat it like you would a really important audition. It's just getting into that professional headspace.
I'd never thought of it like an audition. That's really good.
Yeah. Not like to be like worried or nervous about me or anything. Just to treat the experience like an audition, to get into that professional mindset, I think is quite good.
And do you think like a really good headshot is the difference between getting called in for an audition or not?
I think early doors it is. I probably shouldn't say this, but I think as soon as you start getting established, you could have a picture. I don't know. Well, you'd probably. I mean, if I was Olivia Colman, I'd probably just stick one of my BAFTA or Oscars or whatever she's got. I'd probably just stick one of them on Spotlight and let it speak for itself. But I think when you are a sort of aspiring actor starting out, when you're jobbing, you know, if you're not Meryl Streep, I think you do need a good headshot. Yeah,
I think it's really important, because like you said, like in the early days, you've not even got a profile, have you? I mean, what do you think about people who, because I've seen this so often, you've got an aspiring actor, they're a little bit skinned, and you can understand that, and they go and get their friend to take a picture on like a Canon camera. Like, I don't know, what do you think about that?
I just think whatever gets you there. I think, you know, at the end of the day, I wasn't shooting on, you know, from a photography perspective. I suppose it's like anything. Like, I wasn't shooting on the kit I'm on now. I didn't have the space I have now. I think whatever gets you there, if it gets you noticed by a really small agency that you start out with, brilliant. And then you can book your first job, or you can save up and get some better headshots done later down the line. I just don't think there's any harm in that at all. No, I think you've got at least you're in the game then. At least you're trying. But with that focus that, yes, actually, I'm going to save up and get some professional ones done as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah, so you're not just carrying those pictures around with you forever.
Exactly.
It's a means to an end. Yeah, I really like that. Yeah. And how often do you think then that actors should be getting new headshots?
I think as a general rule, I would say most people wait every couple of years. However, you know, you could look exactly the same in 3 years if you don't change the way you look. You know, someone could come to me and then 6 months later go, oh, I've just cut my hair off and dyed it red. That's when you need to change your headshot, even if it was 3 to 6 months later. It's any time that you have a major change, if you've lost weight or gained weight, or if you've started, you know, if you're a bloke and you've got a beard and then you've just started just going, oh, I've got rid of the beard and I'm going to be clean shaven now. So just kind of whenever you have a major change. And then obviously, you know, if we're getting on for 10 years and you've got your headshots updated, I think it's time to have a little look.
I definitely see some people who are carrying like the same headshot. In fact, I've worked with actors, I'm not going to name names, but I've worked with actors who are using their headshot from like 10 years ago, and you're like, you do not look the same.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, hey, if they're working, hats off to them. They've saved a bit of money there, not getting headshots done. But yeah, I think it's just any time you look differently, you need to then start considering sort of investing in some new headshots.
Absolutely. And so what would be, sort of to wrap this up, what would be like your top 3 tips then for absolutely making the most out of a session and, you know, like not having to waste money and come back like a couple of weeks later?
Yeah, I think you know, if you're worrying about the way you're sort of looking or feeling, you know, even if you're in a bad headspace, leave it for a bit. Because, you know, if you're in a bad headspace, you're not doing so well with your mental health, just leave it, because you can tell. It's all in the eyes. That's where I focus. That's where everybody looks. That's what people look at. They look at your eyes and then they take in the whole thing. You know, you'll be able to tell. So wait until you're in a good headspace. Physically, if you're feeling like maybe you've put on weight, or you know, and don't get me wrong, people who are heavier set, like they don't like there's parts out there. You don't have to be really, really thin. Like, so it's really important that you take ownership of that. Like, if you are a little bit of a bigger girl or guy, like, own it. Like, if generally that's your weight and that's where you stay and you don't really fluctuate, embrace that. But if you acknowledge that actually, yes, you know, you've been eating a lot more in lockdown, and like I have, going in the fridge for all the snacks, and haven't been kind of, you know, and have maybe put on a bit of weight that you wouldn't normally carry. Wait until you're happy with your weight, until it's settled. In terms of like, I'm just looking actually, because the question earlier on, I'm digressing slightly, but in terms of like something that people ask a lot about is their skin. Sometimes skin is a bit of a long-term issue. And sometimes I have people come to me who really struggle with their skin. And I always say, just try and make some changes. But if you're really struggling with your skin, try not to worry too much about it, because I can always help that out in Photoshop. Because it's a non-permanent fixture. I wouldn't change someone's scars or moles or freckles, but if it's something like acne, which is a non-permanent fixture, which will go away, try not to worry too much about that. Or if a big one comes up the night before the headshot session, which as it always does, try not to worry too much, because I can get rid of it.
Well, I was just going to say around that, something I've been doing, I don't know if this is giving away far too much, but I'm just going to put it out there anyway. Like for women, I can't speak for men, but for women, like what I've been doing is tracking my cycle. So I know when I'm going to have an outbreak. I know exactly when it's going to come up. So for me personally, I would not be booking a headshot, even though I know you can get rid of them. Like, just for my own confidence, it's not going to make me feel great knowing I've got these big spots everywhere. Yeah. So I wouldn't be booking in a session around when that's going to happen. I don't know if that's useful for any females or whether it is too much, but that's something personal that I've been looking at.
Yeah, I think that's useful, and I think that's definitely good for people like yourself who've most of the time have got really great skin, and it's just every now and again they have a flare up. I suppose it's more for people that have really, really bad acne, that really struggle with it, that it's a really long-term thing, and it really holds them back with their confidence. I think obviously try and get the help that you need to sort it, but don't worry too much if you're on that journey, because I can sort of tone the redness down and things like that, because that's fair game for me. I struggled with really bad skin, so I know what it feels like. So some people may disagree. Some other photographers may disagree and say, no, if that's what you look like, that's it. That's how I shoot you. But for me, I just think if it's a non-permanent fixture, if it's going to go away, I'm happy to sort of help out a little bit there.
Yeah, and I just think, like, picking up on what you said earlier, just owning everything. I think that is so important. I think that only from my own personal experience, like, you can see when you're not owning something on a picture, and I think that gives off an energy, because we've got to always remember, like, we're having these headshots done to get us into the audition room. That's, for me, that's key. It doesn't mean the headshot's going to land you the job. I mean, it might if someone's casting in that way, but like, just owning everything about yourself, like really making peace with how you look is so important. I don't know if you
definitely want to else. Absolutely. No, absolutely. I think it is. For me, it is that thing. I would never want anyone to come into my studio and feel like they were judged. I would want them to come in knowing that it's a safe environment, that they come in as who they are, and it's my job to just take the best picture I can for them, and hopefully make it as striking and just flattering as possible, but also that it's them, that it looks like them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this has been an absolutely amazing interview. I think you've hit on some really amazing things, and there's going to be a lot for aspiring actors and actors to take away from this. So where can people find you then? So if they want to have a look at your work, or they're considering having a session with you, where should they go to look you up?
Yeah, so I'm Kate McDonald Photography.co.uk. That's my website. And then I'm on all the usual suspects. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. That's at Kate McD Photo. I think it's at Kate McD _ photo. I should know that, shouldn't I? This is how bad I am on social media. I'm terrible. Yeah, no, it's Kate _McD Photo. So get it right, Kate. So all the wrong way. Kate _ McD Photo. So that's my Instagram and my Twitter. And then I think you can just search for me on Facebook, Kate McDonald Photography.
Well, what we'll do is we'll, in the show notes, we'll link to your socials and to your website as well. So people can find you there so they can have a little root around and a nosy and see whose pictures you've taken, which, by the way, I didn't realise how many people you sort of know in the industry. I was looking through your Instagram and I was like, oh my God, I trained with that person and she's taken their pictures.
Such a small world, it really is.
Yeah, it is. Well, thank you so much, Kate. That's been really, really inspiring, really eye-opening as well. And I hope it really helps everybody for their next headshot session and they've got some good little nuggets that they can take away and consider for their next session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have absolutely loved hanging out with you, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, aspiring actors. Now, if you did, I'd really love you to subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave a review. And if you would like weekly injections of inspiration, you'd like mini method acting challenges to keep you making progress with your dreams, come and join the most supportive acting community online by clicking the link in the notes to help you become an unstoppable actor.